Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're taking a slightly different approach, focusing in on just one source. It's a really detailed technical review of the Honor Magic V5 5G Foldable.
Yeah, and our mission here is basically to cut through all the marketing hype. We want to figure out if this foldable can genuinely be called no compromise, especially when you look at performance and, crucially, battery life. We're digging into what the reviewer really found.
Exactly, and that's so important because foldables, well, they're moving past being just a gimmick, right? People expect them to blend that sort of futuristic feel with real practical usability day to day. The V5 really has to prove it's not just cool tech, but a solid phone you can rely on without sacrificing anything you'd get from a normal high-end phone.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning, the physical feel. The review kicks off saying the first impressions are, well, outstanding, sleek, modern, surprisingly light for what it is. You get that sense immediately that they've balanced the cutting edge stuff with, just making it usable. And getting that feeling isn't easy. I mean, think about the engineering. The review mentions an 8.8 millimeter thickness when folded. Now, that might just sound like a number, but for a foldable, that's genuinely a marvel. Packing everything two halves, the hinge, battery, all the components into something that thin, that thinness plus the overall ergonomics, that's what makes it feel comfortable and balanced, whether it's folded like a phone or open like a tablet.
Okay. But the hinge, that's always been the Achilles heel for foldables, hasn't it? Structurally, but also just mentally for buyers. Did the review mention any doubts there?
Right, that's always the first big question. And it seems like the Magic V5 does pretty well here. The reviewer describes the hinge as smooth and reassuringly solid. They specifically point out that it doesn't have that wobble or creak you sometimes saw in, earlier models, which is good. But we should pause on that. Saying it's solid after a few days, well, that doesn't really tell us about long-term durability, does it? Like, what about dust getting in? Or how it holds up after, say, 200,000 folds? And a review can't really cover that yet.
That's a very fair point. Longevity testing takes time. Well, let's assume, for now, the build quality is as good as it feels initially. How does that translate into using it every day? For you, the listener.
Well, it links directly to how you use the two modes. If the hinge feels solid, you feel confident switching. Folded, yeah, it slips into a pocket easily enough for quick tasks. But then you open it up and bam, you've got this generous tablet-like screen. And that fundamentally changes things for reading, browsing, multitasking, even watching videos. If the hinge felt flimsy, you just wouldn't bother opening it as much.
Exactly. You want to use the big screen if the design makes it easy. And that takes us right into the display itself. The review says the Magic V5 excels here, which is pretty critical for a foldable.
Definitely. And it's not just about the size, although it is large, bright, and very vibrant. The really key thing the reviewer highlights for long-term use is that it's easy on the eyes. That's thanks to Honor's Eye Comfort display tech. And honestly, for anyone staring at their phone screen a lot, which is most of us, that's a huge plus.
Okay, eye comfort display. What does that actually mean in practice? Is it just like a night mode filter, or is there more to it?
Oh, it's definitely more sophisticated than just filtering blue light. It's mainly about something called high-frequency PWM dimming pulse width modulation. See, when screens dim, especially OLEDs, they often flicker very rapidly at low frequencies. You might not consciously see it, but it can cause eye strain, headaches, particularly in dim light. This eye comfort display uses a much higher frequency dimming, so you avoid that aggressive flicker. It apparently makes a really big difference for preventing strain during those long viewing sessions.
Ah, okay. So it's about making extended use comfortable, not just quick glances. And visually, for things like games or videos, how does it hold up?
Looks top tier, according to the review. Colors are accurate and really pop. Plenty of detail for demanding games or high-res streaming. Plus, the smoothness, high refresh rate makes everything feel really responsive and immersive. A screen that looks great and doesn't tire your eyes out, that's kind of fundamental to making the whole foldable idea work, right?
Absolutely. Okay, let's shift gears and look under the hood. A great screen needs power, especially for multitasking on a big display. The review says this is where the phone truly shines. Big claim for a foldable.
It is a big claim, but the specs seem to back it up. We need to look past the buzzwords here. It's running the Snapdragon 8 Elite mobile platform. Now, for listeners maybe not tracking every single chip, that Elite basically means the absolute top-of-the-line processor available for mobile right now. It's flagship power.
And what's supporting that chip? Memory, storage.
It's paired with a hefty 16 gigabytes of RAM and a very generous 512 gigs of internal storage. That combination, well, it's not just fast, it's almost overkill, but in a good way. 16 gigabytes of RAM means you can genuinely run loads of heavy apps at once. Think like video call, PDF editor, multiple browser tabs, music streaming, all without the phone constantly killing background apps to save memory.
Wow, 16 GB is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically laptop territory. But here's the typical foldable problem. Heat. You've got all that power crammed into a super thin 8.8 millimeter body. Does the review mention if it overheats or throttles performance when you push it?
That is absolutely the right question. And according to the review, Honor seems to have put some serious effort into the cooling. They don't detail the exact tech like vapor chambers or whatever, but they report on the result. The phone apparently handles everything without hesitation. And crucially, even during long, demanding tasks like gaming on high settings, the performance stayed consistent.
Yeah, the phone got warm, any powerful phone will, but there wasn't any noticeable slowdown or the kind of aggressive throttling that really kills the experience.
That is a huge deal because that big screen for multitasking is only useful if the performance actually keeps up when you load it up. So we're talking seamless multitasking, split screen working without lag, and demanding games running smoothly, just as advertised. Pretty much, yeah. That 16 GB RAM and the big storage aren't just numbers on a spec sheet. They enable the whole foldable concept to work properly for power users. The reviewer calling it a real luxury feels justified. It really seems to deliver on the no-compromise performance promise.
Okay, performance sounds sorted,
Yeah.
but as we said at the start, speed means nothing without stamina. Let's talk practicality, specifically battery life. That's always a concern with foldables and their big screens.
Absolutely critical, and the review singles out battery life as a major plus, offering peace of mind. It packs a 500 and 690 millicol battery. Now, just for context, that's significantly larger than what you find in most standard, non-folding flagship phones. It's clearly built with the dual displays in mind, aiming for all-day use.
And did the real-world testing back that up? Did it actually last?
Yes, it seems so. The reviewer pushed it hard, lots of streaming, gaming, constant notifications, split-screen stuff, and reported it still had plenty of juice left by the evening. But it's not just the raw size of the battery, it's also about efficiency.
Right, optimization. What kind are we talking about? Software stuff.
Exactly. That big battery works hand-in-hand with the software optimization in Android 15. The OS is smart about managing power. Things like dynamically adjusting the screen refresh rate when nothing's moving, managing background apps intelligently so they don't drain power needlessly. Basically, making every milliamp hour count across both screens. You need that software smarts, otherwise even a huge battery would struggle with this kind of hardware.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Beyond the battery, there are other practical touches. The review mentions dual SIM support.
Yeah, it's a thoughtful addition. Maybe not for everyone, but definitely useful for certain people. Think frequent travelers needing a local SIM alongside their home one, or professionals wanting separate work and personal lines in one device. It just adds to that feeling of it being built for, complex, modern needs.
And what about basic connectivity? Calls, 5G signal? Any issues there?
Nope, all reported as reliable. Call quality was apparently excellent, clear, and consistent, which honestly is still a fundamental requirement people sometimes overlook. And the 5G speeds were consistently fast and stable. So downloading stuff, streaming, video calls on that big screen, it should all feel smooth and lag-free.
Okay, so we've looked at the design, the display, the pretty impressive performance, and the solid battery life. It sounds like the Magic V5 handles a lot of the typical foldable challenges really well, but we do need to touch on the one caveat the source mentions.
We do, yeah. The reality check, I suppose. And it's not specific just to the V5, but the whole category. Foldables still command attention, both in size and price.
All right.
I mean, even though the V5 is remarkably thin for a foldable, it's still inevitably bulkier and heavier than a standard phone. And let's be honest, the price tag for this kind of cutting-edge tech remains pretty high.
Right, it's the early adopter tax, or maybe the advanced tech tax.
Yeah.
But pulling everything together, the refined hinge, the clever cooling, that massive RAM, the eye-friendly screen, what's the overall take from the review?
The bottom line seems to be that the Magic V5 isn't just a foldable novelty anymore. It feels polished, genuinely capable, and actually fun to use because those traditional foldable compromises feel, minimized. It offers this really compelling package. A large display that's easy on the eyes, true powerhouse performance thanks to that Snapdragon Elite and 16 GB RAM combo, and battery life that lasts. So the review concludes it's a very, very strong contender if you're looking to invest in a high-end foldable and really don't want to compromise.
So to quickly recap the key points for you listening, what makes this device feel ready for today and tomorrow seems to be that combination of things done right. The solid hinge that doesn't feel fragile, the display tech that lets you actually use the big screen comfortably for hours, and that serious internal power, the 16 GB RAM and top-tier chip, ensuring it stays fast.
Exactly. And that does leave us with a really interesting question to ponder, doesn't it? For you, the listener, watching how fast this space is evolving, if the Honor Magic V5 5G really has set a new bar, successfully blending flagship speed with this kind of thin, durable design, essentially solving the main historical problems of foldables, like fragility and performance throttling, what does that mean for the future? Is the main barrier left just the price? Are we on the cusp of the tablet in your pocket becoming, well, mainstream?
A fascinating thought to end on as the market keeps changing. That wraps up our deep dive into the Honor Magic V5 5G based on this review.